Well, what's up guys? It is Carly here bringing you another update video. Yes, I figured it was that time again. I have yet another pretty decent sized stack, maybe not as big as the usual, but it's still pretty big, so I figured I would go ahead and make this video now. So to start off, I'm going to be talking about some books slash magazines. I don't really have a lot here, but I do have one book that I recently got, and that is Creepy Susie and 13 Other Tragic Tales for Troubled Children. Yeah, my grandpa actually gave this to me as a very late birthday gift, and he was being all secretive and not telling me where he got it, and he was acting all spooky and stuff like that. I know this is kind of a popular book. It's not one that I had ever heard of though, but it seems like other people know about this, and I just kind of briefly skimmed through it, and some of the stories are just really ridiculous and silly and kind of dark, so I thought that was kind of cool that he surprised me with that, so I definitely will be reading through this eventually. Then we have two magazines here. First up, we have a Horror Hound magazine. JP and I were at a Barnes & Noble the other day out by the waterfront where we see a lot of our movies. We had some time to kill before the movies, so we went inside, and they carry magazines like Horror Hound and Rue Morgue and some other horror magazines there, so I figured I would just pick this up because I thought the cover was pretty cool, even though Pet Sematary Remake wasn't something I really enjoyed that much. It was entertaining, but I thought it was kind of generic and forgettable, but still thought the cover was cool, and I think magazines are just kind of cool to skim through as well as put on display in my room, so I decided to pick that up. After that, we have a Fangoria magazine here. It's in the plastic casing, protective casing thing here, but I picked this up whenever JP and I went to the all-night drive-in that we go to every April. It's the last weekend of every April, and before we went to the drive-in the second day, we had stayed at a hotel and we had some time to kill, so we decided to go to some thrift stores, and next to a Goodwill was a comic book slash like hobby store, and it was mainly just comic books of superheroes and things like that. They didn't really have any horror related comics like Hellraiser or anything of that sort, but they did have a small magazine section, and there were two Fangorias, so JP grabbed one and I grabbed one, so thought that was pretty cool to find as well. Alright guys, now we're going to get into the small Blu-ray thing here. I have collection rather. Really didn't have as many Blu-rays as I had thought, but I do have 3 here, and first up we have Halloween, of course, the new Halloween movie. I wasn't too high on this movie when I saw it. It was actually pretty disappointing for me because I was so hype about it, and Halloween is definitely probably my favorite franchise just because it's the first one I saw all the movies in, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it, so I found this to be pretty disappointing. There was a lot that I didn't like about it, and I recently rewatched it, and I still have the same feelings about not liking those things, but I still find it to be a pretty entertaining film, at least for what it is, if you just take it as a slasher and don't try to compare it too much to the other Halloween movies. It's really not a bad movie, and of course I needed it to complete my Halloween franchise collection, so picked this up obviously at a family video. I never really have much luck at family videos, but we went to one that we had never been to before, and this was pretty much the only thing I could find. After that, we have The Brain, which is a Scream Factory release. This was on sale. I believe Jeremy posted it in the 22 Shots group page, and I decided to go for it. I usually kind of ignore the sales, but I thought this one looked pretty cool. I had the extra money, and also Scream Factories are something that I enjoy collecting just because it's the one thing that I have probably the most movies in as far as companies go, so decided to pick it up. I watched it. I thought it was a pretty fun movie, so definitely don't regret buying it. After that, we have Brain Damage. Now this is awesome. This was another one that happened to be on sale, and I was thinking about buying it, but I didn't really have that much money at the time. I just bought the Brain and then some other stuff, so it was like, when there's a deal and you don't really have the money, it's not really a deal. You're still kind of wasting money, so I was gonna skip on it, but JP actually surprised me and picked it up for me because it's one of his favorite movies, or just a movie that he really enjoys, and I watched this one as well. I liked it a lot. It's really great transfer, and it's a very, very fun movie, very interesting, visually interesting film to watch, so really enjoyed this one as well. Alright guys, now to get into the VHS here, we have first up Scream 2. You know, I found this one at the Goodwill, like I said, when we went to that drive-in, and they actually had a pretty decent selection of VHS tapes at this Goodwill as opposed to the ones that are around here. Unfortunately, that's like an hour and some minutes away, so it wouldn't be worth it to go out there all the time, but did find Scream 2, and you know, I was gonna kind of skip on it because there's nothing really special about Scream 2 on VHS, but I do have part 1 and part 3 on VHS as well, so I thought it would be cool to kind of just have all 3 of those movies on VHS tape. It's got this little sticker here that says Giggle, I think it's Giggle or Eagle, I don't know, Video Center, I just think that's kind of cool as well to have this old sticker for a place that's probably no longer in existence, so that is pretty cool. I do like Scream 2. Next up we have the Blair Witch Project. Now this is one that I always see on VHS everywhere I go and just kind of never really picked up because I do have it on Blu-ray, but I decided to go ahead and grab it because if you're going to buy anything on VHS, I think this is a good one since, you know, it's a found footage and it's one that they kind of made seem real back in the day, so I feel like VHS tape is the most, I don't know, real way to kind of watch the movie, and this is another one that I have come to really enjoy. When I was a kid, I really didn't like it, but upon rewatch, I think it's a really creepy movie and it's still pretty effective today. After that, we have The Fly 2. I also own this one already on DVD, but I just thought it was kind of interesting to see this on tape. It's not really one that I ever see anywhere, even on DVD, but do own it on DVD. It's not the best condition here. The case is kind of all beat up, but just thought it was pretty cool and just decided to pick it up for the heck of it. I think it's a pretty fun, cheesy movie, but it's one I've only seen once before. After that, we have Mother's Boys. This is one that I've always been kind of curious about. I think it's more of a thriller. It kind of says The Fatal Attraction of the 90s on the back, so that kind of tells you it's more of a thriller than it is a horror movie. Also says thriller right on the cover there, but I think you can pick this up like in a 4-pack or something with like Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, and some other, maybe Halloween 6 or something. I think this is one I always see in this 4-pack, and I always find it random that it's in there, so figured I would just grab it as something different. I haven't watched it yet, and I've never seen it before, so have to see how I feel about that one. And then lastly, guys, we have Halloween here. Yeah, I have Halloween on VHS. It's the only way I actually own it, oddly enough, for it being one of my favorite horror movies, but I have the VHS tape from when I was a little kid, and, you know, just never really upgraded it because it still works, and I don't really rewatch Halloween as much anymore as I used to, unless it's around Halloween time, but anyway, I also found this at that Goodwill, and I just thought it was kind of cool to own 2 different versions of Halloween on VHS, and I did play it and it did work okay. It does suck though, there's like obviously this big hole here, and that's where Michael's face is, so it's like the most interesting part of the cover is kind of beat up and messed up, but you know, Blockbuster presents here, and I just think it's pretty cool to kind of collect these tapes. And then finally, guys, we're going to get into the DVDs, and first up we have one that I actually just picked up last night, or I made JP buy for me because once again I didn't really feel like buying anything, but he said these movies are apparently out of print, and that is Mega Shark Collection here. It has Shark Attack 1, 2, and 3 on it, and I believe he said those ones are out of print, and then you also have movies like Toxic Shark, Shark in Venice, Malibu Shark Attack, Shark Man, and Shark Zone on here. I'm not too sure about those ones. They sound like they're probably pretty cheesy and cheap. I'm definitely not one to seek out shark films. I never really give them much of a chance. I do love Jaws, and I kind of feel like that's the only way that a shark film would ever really work, but I know there are other good ones out there, so I will be curious to check these out because they probably are pretty fun at least. After that, we have Ringu. I was doing an order of movies that I needed for podcast purposes on Second Spin, and they were doing a buy 3, get a 4th one for free, and I only needed 3 movies, so I decided to just look up one other film that I was kind of interested in, and decided to go with Ringu because it's one that I've been wanting to watch for a while. I've only seen bits and pieces of it, and I've always wanted to kind of get into the Japanese ring films because they just always look pretty creepy and interesting to me, and I know there is a lot, and I know some of them are pretty much impossible to find at this point, but figured I would just pick this up for the heck of it. I am curious to check it out. After that, we have the Neon Demon. This is one that Austin and I plan on covering on our MVM Movie vs. Movie Horror podcast in a few episodes, and I did not own it, so decided to just grab it because I think I checked Netflix and everything, and I don't think it's really on there. I think it might have used to be, but it's not as of now, so figured I would just grab it. It wasn't too expensive or anything. After that, we have The Final Girls, another one that Austin and I will be covering sooner than later. This will be our next episode, and I had the other movie that we're doing, but I did not have this one, and once again, I couldn't really find it on streaming online or anything like that, so figured I would just grab it so I have it, and JP actually doesn't own it either, so I couldn't even borrow it off of him, but Final Girls, I think this is a pretty fun movie. I've only seen it once, but I enjoyed it for what it was. After that, we have Blood Simple, and this is one that I've never seen before, but I've always heard pretty good things about. Picked this up for a future project I'm going to be doing, but yeah, don't really know much about it. I just know it's one that I've definitely heard good things about. After that, we have Goosebumps, Say Cheese and Die, and it also has Say Cheese and Die Again on it. Yeah, I thought this was pretty cool. I also found this at that Goodwill, and anytime I find something like this, I have to pick it up because I think it's fun to just collect these old Goosebumps shows / books, and, you know, I've watched it. They're pretty cheesy. The acting is pretty, you know, I guess you could say forced and silly nowadays, but I still find them to be pretty entertaining, and they go along with the books pretty much perfectly, so I always find that interesting to watch. After that, we have a few movies here that I picked up for a Cinema Attack show that I'm going to be guesting on soon. And first up, we have Black Death. These are all Christopher Smith movies, and that's kind of what the show is going to be. So I just bought these all on DVD again because I didn't own any of them, and I decided it would be better to just pick them all up when I could. I also bought these off a Second Spin, so it's just easier to own it than to try to scramble and find it before it's too late. So Black Death, I watched this one actually this morning, oddly enough, and I thought it was pretty decent. Not really something that I love, not really my cup of tea, but I actually liked it for what it was. You know, I don't want to give my full opinions on it since I will be covering it on a show soon. Then we have Severance. This is more of a horror comedy, and I thought this one was pretty fun as well, for the most part. You know, the comedy isn't necessarily my type of humor, but I just thought it was a pretty entertaining film. Then we have Triangle. Once again, this one kind of has a storyline that isn't my favorite, but I still thought it was a pretty solid movie. Definitely above average, but yeah, pretty good one. Like I said, I don't want to give a full-blown review on these since I will be doing a podcast with them, but lastly, guys, we have Creep. I believe this was his first movie, and I like this one as well. He makes some pretty good movies, and they're all pretty different for the most part. This is from 2005. At first, it kind of had a P2 vibe, which I think P2 came out 2 years after this, so I guess P2 had this vibe, but you know, about a girl who gets locked in a subway overnight and then some stuff starts to go down. So I thought it was a pretty cool one as well. It's one that I had always wanted to kind of check out because I used to see it, I think it used to be on Netflix actually, and I would always be interested by the cover and things like that. So I am glad that I finally got to check this one out. So yeah, guys, that'll do it for this month's update. Thank you once again for joining me, and as always, I will see you in my next video.